The Dominion had ruled this sector of the galaxy for centuries. Its fleets stretched across dozens of star systems, and its laws were absolute. Every world under Dominion control knew its place. Obedience was expected. Rebellion was crushed swiftly. Outsiders rarely ventured into Dominion space, and if they did, they were usually destroyed or expelled. But today, something unusual was happening. Far beyond the outer borders, a human fleet appeared on Dominion sensors. The ships were unlike anything the Dominion had catalogued. Sleek, practical, and resilient. Their numbers were small compared to a Dominion fleet, but their presence was bold. Admiral Thalic, the Dominion commander in charge of the outer systems, stared at the glowing blips on his main screen. "Impossible," he muttered. "These are humans?" "Yes, Admiral," said Lieutenant Kryn, his voice steady but tinged with worry. "They are transmitting a message. It says, 'They are approaching. They claim peaceful intent.'" Thalic narrowed his eyes. Peaceful? He had heard of humans before, small, primitive creatures that had survived on a few frontier planets. They were considered weak and disorganized, far below Dominion standards. "And yet they enter our space without permission?" Kryn nodded. "They are unarmed, or at least they do not show aggression, but they do not acknowledge Dominion authority. They refuse to stop." Thalic clenched his jaw. "Send the warning fleets. Tell them to leave immediately, and make sure they understand what defiance means in Dominion space." The human fleet did not slow. Their lead ship, a large vessel with a shining hull, transmitted another message. It was calm, clear, and unyielding. "We come as friends. We stay as equals." Thalic felt a sharp pang of disbelief. No other species in Dominion history had dared to speak this way. To challenge the Dominion, even politely, was almost unheard of. Yet these humans did not fear him, did not bow, and did not hesitate. "Prepare the strike fleet," Thalic ordered. "They must be stopped before they reach the inner systems." Meanwhile, aboard the lead human ship, Captain Elena Drake reviewed the Dominion response. Her crew moved with calm efficiency, adjusting sensors and communication arrays. "Sir," said Commander Jalen, the human fleet's second-in-command, "they're sending a warning fleet. They think we will retreat." Elena smiled slightly. "Let them think what they want. We are not here to fight, but we will not bow either. We are humans." "That is enough." The human fleet continued through Dominion space, maintaining their course with quiet confidence. Their ships were not the fastest, nor the most powerful, but they were adaptive. Energy shields shifted automatically to block incoming scans. Engines adjusted instantly to avoid collisions, and drones quietly analyzed Dominion formations without detection. The Dominion scouts approached, expecting to intimidate the humans. Dominion ships were large, imposing, armed with plasma cannons and missile arrays. They circled the human fleet like vultures, ready to strike. Elena's voice came over the comms, calm, steady, and firm. "This is Captain Elena Drake of the human vessel Liberty. We request peaceful passage. We mean no harm, we will not bow, and we will not leave. We ask only to be treated as equals." The Dominion ships paused. Admiral Thalic's face darkened with anger. He had never heard a species speak to him this way. Every other world had obeyed instantly. "They are insolent," he said. "Send the warning again. Make them understand the price of defiance." The humans did not respond aggressively. Instead, they deployed small drones that moved in patterns around the Dominion ships, gathering information. The drones were harmless, but their precision and intelligence unnerved the Dominion officers. Kryn, the lieutenant, whispered, "Sir, they are not acting like anyone else we have encountered. Their coordination, it is remarkable. And they do not flinch." Thalic slammed his fist on the command console. "Flinch? They will flinch. They will obey." Yet the humans did not. They continued their advance. The Dominion fleet fired warning pulses, bright energy waves that could disable ships. Humans maneuvered with precision, dodging every strike without damage. Their ships glided through the warning blasts as if the waves could not touch them. "Impossible," Thalic muttered. "They should be broken by now." Elena watched the Dominion's attempts carefully. She did not feel fear. Humans had survived worse. They had faced environmental collapse, hostile worlds, and wars far deadlier than this. A few alien ships could not intimidate them. Keep formation, Elena instructed. Show them we are not afraid, but avoid confrontation. We need to reach the star system ahead and make contact. No one benefits from unnecessary bloodshed. The human fleet finally arrived at a Dominion-controlled star system. It was heavily monitored and fortified with satellite arrays. Dominion sensors immediately detected them, and alarms blared across the command stations. "This is outrageous," Thalek shouted. "They enter the system and do not even request permission." "They are defying us openly," said Kryn, "and they are not hiding. They are confident, too confident." Elena ordered the fleet to orbit a neutral point in the system. Her drones began scanning Dominion communication channels, collecting data without being detected. Humans were skilled at observing without interfering. Within hours, they had mapped out the Dominion communication grids, defenses, and fleet positions. One of the Dominion warships, growing impatient, attempted to approach the humans aggressively. Sensors showed that the humans did not deploy weapons. Instead, they adjusted shields and sensors to anticipate the Dominion moves. Thalek could not understand it. They should be surrendering. They should be begging for mercy. Why are they so calm? Inside the human ship, Elena reviewed the Dominion reactions. "They think fear controls the galaxy," she said quietly. "They have not met humans who refuse to fear." The oppressed worlds under Dominion rule began to take notice. The humans' messages, broadcast over open channels, reached planets where Dominion control was strict and harsh. For the first time, people heard a voice that spoke not as conquerors but as equals. "They are not like us," a Dominion governor whispered on a communication channel. "They do not fear, they do not bow, and yet they do not attack." In the following hours, the tension increased. Dominion fleets surrounded the human ships in a show of force, but humans did not panic. They remained in formation, shields up, drones scanning, and communication lines open. Thalek finally sent a direct message to the human fleet. "Leave now, or face destruction. Your courage is meaningless against Dominion firepower." Elena's reply was simple and unwavering. "We do not leave. We do not bow. We come in peace. We will not be intimidated." For a moment, silence filled the Dominion command ship. No one had ever spoken to Admiral Thalek this way. His entire career had been built on obedience and fear, and now he faced a species that ignored both. One Dominion officer leaned toward him. "Sir, what do we do?" Thalek's hands trembled slightly as he stared at the human fleet. "We wait," he said finally. "We watch, and we learn." The humans' calm, steady presence unsettled the Dominion in ways that weapons never could. Their defiance was not loud or aggressive. It was quiet, firm, and unshakable. They had entered Dominion space and refused to leave. They had not drawn a single weapon, yet every Dominion officer on every ship felt a new kind of fear: respect, uncertainty, and disbelief. Back on the human ship, Elena gathered her crew. "They expect us to be weak. They expect us to fear them. But humans are strong when we stand together, when we face what is before us with courage. Remember, we do not fight to conquer. We fight to show that fear does not control us. That is enough to change everything." Her crew nodded, eyes shining with resolve. Across Dominion space, news of the humans' defiance began to spread quietly. The humans were no longer just strangers. They were a statement, a new force, a question the Dominion had never anticipated. What happens when a species refuses to obey? As night fell on the Dominion star system, the human fleet remained in orbit, quiet but alert. Dominion forces watched them from every angle, prepared to strike, but hesitant. Every moment that passed without violence only strengthened the humans' position. They were not bowing, not fleeing, and not panicking. The Dominion officers whispered among themselves. "They are different," one said. "We have underestimated them." Thalek's face was stern, but deep inside, he felt an unfamiliar unease. The humans had arrived boldly, unshaken and defiant. They had not fired a single shot, and yet they had already changed the tone of the Dominion's command. And for the first time in centuries, the Dominion could not predict what would happen next. Ending beat. Of Part 1, the humans remain in Dominion space, unyielding and calm. The Dominion prepares its forces, unsure how to handle this defiant species. The stage is set for confrontation, discovery, and a test of courage, one that will reveal the true strength of humanity. The Dominion fleet had gathered in full strength around the human fleet. Their ships formed a tight blockade, surrounding the humans from every angle. Energy weapons glowed across the void, and scanners swept repeatedly, analyzing the human vessels. Dominion commanders were confident. Humans were bold, but boldness would not protect them from the Dominion's might. Admiral Thalek stood on the command deck of the flagship Obsidian Fury, staring at the human formation on the main holoscreen. "They refuse to retreat," he said, voice hard and incredulous. "They do not bow. They do not submit. Send the strike units. We will teach them obedience." Lieutenant Kryn hesitated. "Sir, they are not behaving like any species we have encountered. Their movement patterns are unusual, adaptive, precise." Thalek's eyes narrowed. "Adaptive. They are weak. They are humans. Weak. They will break when we fire." But even as he said it, Dominion sensors reported minor but inexplicable disturbances. Some of the warning energy pulses they fired at the human fleet were dodged, as if the ships anticipated them. The humans' shields absorbed impacts differently than any Dominion tech had ever recorded. Across the void, Captain Elena Drake observed the Dominion's frustration. "They expect us to panic," she said softly to her crew. "They expect us to surrender. Let them learn that humans do not fear, even when facing power greater than their own." The human fleet moved with quiet coordination. They avoided confrontation while still demonstrating skill. Small drones scouted Dominion ships, mapping weak points in their shield configurations and communications. The Dominion did not notice at first, but subtle changes in energy flow and shield calibration began to alert them to unusual activity. "Captain," Commander Jalen said, "our drones are picking up patterns in their fleet coordination. They are rigid, predictable, but they have never seen humans before. We can use this." Elena nodded. "Observation first, diplomacy second. If we need to act, we act with precision, no mistakes." Meanwhile, the Dominion's inner council debated the situation. "These humans are not like any threat we have faced," said a senior counselor. "They are small, but unshakable. They do not panic, and they do not respond to intimidation." Another counselor scoffed. "They are insignificant, mere pests. One strike and they will scatter. Fear controls all species. They are no exception." But the first counselor shook his head. "You underestimate them. Their calm defiance is not weakness. It is strength. And strength backed by intelligence and coordination can be dangerous." Back on the human ships, Elena ordered her crew to begin discreet reconnaissance of the Dominion system. "We need to know what we are dealing with, not to attack, but to understand. Knowledge is the first weapon of survival." Humans deployed small, fast scout ships to observe Dominion planets and satellites. They discovered worlds tightly controlled, populations monitored, and systems that had been restricted for centuries. Humans noted the signs of oppression and subtle rebellion. On some worlds, the locals whispered about outsiders who might help. Jalen reported, "Captain, we've found systems under tight Dominion rule. Some show unrest. They are afraid, but they hope. We can reach them without fighting. They need to know they are not alone." Elena's eyes softened. "That is why we are here. Humans do not conquer. We show courage, fairness, and unity. That alone can inspire change." On one Dominion planet, news of the human fleet spread quietly among the oppressed citizens. Across colonies and orbital stations, people began to watch the stars, wondering who these bold newcomers were. Rumors spoke of humans who did not bow, who did not fear, and who did not attack, but who still held strength and intelligence beyond measure. Back in the Dominion command fleet, Thalek grew impatient. Strike units ready. We cannot wait any longer. These humans defy us openly. Let them feel Dominion firepower. The strike units surged forward, small attack ships designed to overwhelm weaker fleets. But the humans were ready. They anticipated the Dominion attack through rapid calculations and adaptive shields. The Dominion weapons fired, but the human ships dodged and maneuvered with unexpected skill. One by one, the strike units found their attacks ineffective. Thalek's jaw tightened. Impossible. Every species breaks under pressure. Every fleet retreats or surrenders. Why do these humans resist so easily? Elena's voice came through in calm, clear transmission. We do not resist out of pride or anger. We resist because humans face danger without fear. We adapt. We survive. And we do not bow. Some Dominion officers muttered among themselves. They are incredible, one said quietly. We have never seen coordination like this from such a small fleet. Thalek slammed his fist on the console. Silence. They are still weak. They will break. But even as he spoke, more reports came in. Human drones had mapped Dominion fleets in detail, identified shield weak points, and found hidden supply routes. Without firing a single shot, humans had gained significant tactical knowledge. Elena studied the Dominion formations. They believe size and firepower control the galaxy. They do not understand humans. Humans are not just strength or numbers. We have ingenuity, courage, and resolve. That makes us dangerous in ways they cannot measure. In the following days, humans began reaching out subtly to oppressed worlds in the system. Messages were sent through hidden channels, reassuring locals that help was nearby. Not with weapons, but with guidance, protection, and solidarity. One colony, previously fearful of speaking against Dominion rule, received the human message. You are not alone. Courage exists even in the smallest places. Do not fear those who try to control you. Stand with us, in your own way. Whispers of hope spread quietly. Dominion monitors noticed anomalies, subtle communications, sudden small uprisings, and minor acts of defiance. The Dominion did not yet know humans had influenced this, but the seeds were planted. Meanwhile, Thalek grew more anxious. We must act decisively, prepare the blockade fleet, engage them directly if necessary. We cannot allow these humans to gain influence over our systems. Elena, observing the Dominion's movements, addressed her crew. They will try to force us into a fight. Stay calm. Observe. Do not strike unless it is necessary. We are here to show them a different way. Strength through courage, not destruction. As the blockade tightened, one Dominion commander approached Thalek. Sir, our fleet cannot predict their actions. They anticipate our maneuvers. Our formations are failing to contain them. They are small, yes, but they are smarter than any species we have faced. Thalek's anger mixed with unease. Do not speak that way. They are insignificant. Fear will control them soon. But fear, he realized, was not what these humans knew. Humans had faced far worse than Dominion fleets. They had survived catastrophes, wars, and environmental collapse. Their courage was innate. Their defiance was calculated, not reckless. Elena's fleet began mapping Dominion communications in preparation for diplomacy. They discovered hidden weaknesses, not to exploit, but to understand. Humans believed that knowledge without arrogance could empower both sides. Captain, Jalen said, we have located their central communications hub. They are trying to coordinate fleet movements to corner us. We can observe safely and prepare for negotiations if needed. Elena nodded. Good. Observation first, diplomacy second, violence only if forced. Remember, humans are strongest when they choose integrity over aggression. The Dominion noticed unusual activity on their monitored systems. Civilian communications had been subtly influenced. Minor malfunctions in equipment, small uprisings, whispers of hope. They did not understand how this was happening. Thalek frowned. It is impossible. One small fleet cannot cause this. They cannot. But humans had already done it. Without a single attack, Without firing a single weapon, humans had demonstrated courage, skill, intelligence, and morality. They had inspired hope. They had unsettled Dominion confidence. And they had shown that defiance was not recklessness. It was a power the Dominion could not yet control. Elena looked at the Dominion fleet, bright lights reflecting across the human ships. They expect fear. They expect surrender. But humans do not yield to fear. Not now, not ever. As night fell over the Dominion star system, the humans remained in orbit. Dominion ships maintained their positions, weapons trained, scanners active. Yet the humans had already won something far greater than a battle. They had shown that courage, unity, and cleverness could challenge even the mightiest force in the galaxy. On a distant Dominion planet, oppressed citizens looked to the stars. They whispered of humans who did not bow, humans who were brave, humans who brought hope. Change had begun, quietly, without a single shot. In the Dominion command fleet, unease grew. Thalix officers whispered among themselves. We underestimated them. Too small, yet so unshakable. Too calm, yet so effective. Thalix did not answer. For the first time in his long career, he felt doubt. Humans were not just another species, they were different. They were strong in ways the Dominion had never measured, and their presence in the system was more dangerous than any weapon. Ending beat. Of Part 2, humans remain unshaken in the Dominion system. They have gathered knowledge, inspired hope among oppressed worlds, and demonstrated strategic brilliance. Dominion officers are unsettled and uncertain, realizing these humans are not just bold, they are a force that cannot be underestimated. The stage is set for a direct confrontation, testing human ingenuity and courage against overwhelming power. The Dominion fleet had gathered its full strength. Thousands of ships surrounded the human fleet in a tight formation, a wall of energy and steel meant to intimidate. Dominion commanders believed the humans would falter under such pressure. Every species before had. Every species but humans. Admiral Thalix stood on the bridge of his flagship, Obsidian Fury, staring at the humans' ships. They are small, he said, voice steady but sharp with irritation. But they do not flinch. They do not retreat. Strike units. Prepare to engage. Show them the cost of defiance. Lieutenant Kryn hesitated. Sir, their movements are unpredictable. They are adaptive. Our formations cannot contain them fully. Even now, they are learning our patterns. Thalix slammed his hand on the console. Weakness cannot adapt, obey, or be destroyed. But in the depths of space, humans did not obey. They remained calm, coordinated, and deliberate. Their ships maneuvered with intelligence, avoiding direct conflict while analyzing Dominion movements. Their drones scanned the fleet, mapping shield strengths, weapon ranges, and fleet coordination. Every Dominion action was met with calculated human countermeasures. Captain Elena Drake watched the Dominion fleet carefully. They expect us to panic, she said quietly to Commander Jalen. They expect us to surrender. They do not understand humans. We are not just strong. We are clever, adaptable, and brave. That is our advantage. Jalen nodded. We can hold them off indefinitely if we stay disciplined, and every maneuver teaches us more about their capabilities. The Dominion fleet opened fire. Bright energy pulses shot across space, lighting the darkness with deadly arcs. But the humans did not panic. Shields shifted, engines adjusted, and ships slipped through the blasts like shadows. Not a single human vessel was damaged. Dominion pilots began to realize something unsettling. The humans were not just surviving, they were learning. They anticipate our moves, one Dominion commander shouted. How is this possible? Thalix's face darkened. Impossible. We are the Dominion. Every species obeys. Every fleet falls. Yet, they persist. Inside the human fleet, Elena addressed her crew. Stay calm. Do not fire unless necessary. Our strength lies not in destruction, but in defiance and cleverness. Let them see that fear cannot control us. The humans began to use their knowledge strategically. Small strikes of energy disrupted Dominion communications, not enough to harm personnel, but enough to slow fleet coordination. They repurposed abandoned satellites in the system to create decoys, confusing Dominion sensors. Dominion commanders became frustrated as their numbers and firepower failed to overwhelm the humans. One Dominion warship attempted a direct attack, firing concentrated energy bursts at a human ship. The ship weaved and moved unpredictably, then returned to formation unharmed. The Dominion officers gasped in disbelief. "They should be broken," an officer cried. "Every species breaks under fire. Why do these humans remain unshaken?" Elena's voice came over open channels, calm and firm. "Humans do not break because we do not fear. We adapt, we survive, and we do not bow. That is all you need to know." On Dominion-controlled planets, the humans' presence had already begun to stir whispers. People who had lived in oppression for centuries began daring small acts of defiance. Workers refusing harsh commands, scholars questioning Dominion teachings, and pilots reporting minor anomalies in fleet operations. The Dominion had underestimated the influence a small, brave fleet could have. Admiral Thalek realized the humans were not just avoiding destruction. They were teaching lessons without aggression. Dominion officers muttered among themselves. "They are teaching our people. Quietly, without weapons." Thalek's anger grew. "Enough observation. Engage fully. They must understand fear." Elena anticipated the escalation. She ordered her fleet to deploy rapid response units that could counter Dominion movements without direct attack. Using speed, coordination, and clever use of system terrain, humans disrupted Dominion formations at every step. Dominion ships collided or misaligned, energy pulses misfired, and command links jammed. "Captain," Jalen said, scanning the Dominion formations, "they cannot predict everything we do. Their rigid patterns are their weakness. We can exploit this, not with weapons, but by outmaneuvering them." Elena nodded. "Exactly. Humans are strongest when we act with courage and cleverness, not force. Let them learn the hard way." The Dominion fleet tried to blockade a critical planetary system, intending to trap the humans. But the humans found hidden routes, asteroid fields, and abandoned satellites to slip through. Dominion commanders grew more frustrated as their tactics failed again and again. Back on a Dominion planet, civilians watched the events unfold. Communications had spread, showing the humans' calm defiance. Hope sparked in hearts long weighed down by fear. Whispered conversations spoke of courage, of resilience, and of humans who refused to bow. Some began organizing secret networks to support the humans. "This is impossible," Thalek muttered. "They are a tiny fleet. How can they disrupt us without fighting? How can they inspire hope?" One of his officers, a younger lieutenant, spoke quietly. "Sir, perhaps we have underestimated them. They are not just strong. They are different. They act with unity, courage, and intelligence. That is more dangerous than our weapons." Thalek's jaw tightened. "Silence. They are still insignificant. Fear controls all, and they will learn it." But deep inside, he knew something troubling. Humans were teaching the galaxy a lesson the Dominion had never expected. Fear and obedience did not control everyone. Courage, ingenuity, and morality could rival even the mightiest fleets. Elena and her crew continued their silent campaign. They reached out to oppressed worlds through subtle communications, giving reassurance and guidance without breaking Dominion laws directly. Humans demonstrated that strength was not just in firepower, it was in leadership, unity, and hope. "We are not here to destroy," Elena said to her crew. "We are here to show what humans can do. Courage, cleverness, and morality can change everything. That is our power." Jalen smiled. "And the Dominion does not even know it yet." The Dominion fleet, frustrated and confused, tried one final tactic: a full assault using the largest ships in their command. They believed that overwhelming power would finally break the humans' morale. Energy waves, missiles, and coordinated strikes rained down. But the humans were ready. They dodged, adapted, and outmaneuvered. Some ships used clever positioning to absorb the impact of blasts while protecting weaker vessels. Others deployed temporary decoys and shields to mislead Dominion targeting systems. The humans never fired aggressively. They did not need to. Their skill and courage alone kept them safe. In the Dominion command room, officers whispered, "They are untouchable." Thalek slammed his fist on the console, anger and disbelief mixed with fear. Impossible. One small fleet cannot withstand the full Dominion. Yet here they are. Unbroken. Calm. Defiant. Elena transmitted a message across the Dominion system. "We do not fight to conquer. We fight to show that courage and unity matter more than fear. You have strength, yes, but humans are stronger in ways you do not understand. Respect and cooperation, not fear. Guide us." For a moment, silence filled Dominion communication channels. Some officers were shaken. Some questioned the system. The humans had not fired a single destructive shot, yet they had unsettled the Dominion's command, inspired hope in oppressed populations, and shown that fear was not the only force in the galaxy. Back on human ships, Elena gathered her crew. "They will not stop trying to intimidate us," she said, "but humans do not bow. Humans adapt, survive, and lead with courage. Every challenge they send us only proves our strength." As the Dominion fleet withdrew slightly to regroup, civilians across the system began small acts of defiance. Workers paused in their tasks to watch the stars. Students discussed freedom in whispers, and pilots reported minor malfunctions in Dominion operations. Humans had already begun to change the system, not with weapons, but with courage, intelligence, and unity. Thalek stared at the human fleet. "We cannot predict them. We cannot break them. They are different. Too different. I do not like this." Elena's voice echoed across the system. "We are humans. We enter not to conquer, but to show courage. We act with intelligence, bravery, and morality. That is our power, and it is stronger than fear." For the first time in centuries, the Dominion could not predict what would happen next. Humans had demonstrated that courage, unity, and cleverness could rival overwhelming force. And in the hearts of oppressed worlds, hope had begun to grow. Ending beat. Of Part 3, humans remain calm and clever under full Dominion assault. They have outmaneuvered overwhelming force, inspired hope among oppressed worlds, and demonstrated that courage, intelligence, and unity can rival raw power. The Dominion is shaken, uncertain, and forced to rethink its strategies. The stage is now set for decisive action, where human ingenuity, morality, and leadership will be tested like never before. The Dominion fleet had regrouped. Thousands of ships filled the star system, forming an immense wall of power, meant to intimidate and dominate. Dominion officers believed this final show of force would finally break the humans. They were wrong. Admiral Thalek stood on the bridge of the Obsidian Fury, staring at the human formation. His voice was tight with anger and confusion. They have endured everything, every assault, every maneuver, and still, they do not retreat. They do not fear. They remain calm and defiant. Lieutenant Kryn hesitated. "Sir, perhaps we underestimated them. They are not just brave. They are clever, adaptable, almost impossible to predict." Thalek slammed his fist on the console. "No! Fear controls all. They will learn it." But deep inside, he felt doubt. For the first time in his long career, he could not predict the outcome. Humans had endured, survived, and inspired, and they had done it without destroying anything. On the human ships, Captain Elena Drake addressed her crew. "This is the moment we have prepared for. They expect us to bow or run. They expect us to be afraid, but humans do not bow. Humans do not fear. We are here to show courage, intelligence, and morality. That is our power." Commander Jalen nodded. "And it is stronger than any weapon they have." The humans began a careful campaign of diplomacy. Using the knowledge they had gathered about Dominion communications and systems, they sent messages to Dominion-controlled planets and sectors. These messages were not aggressive. They offered hope, fairness, and guidance. They encouraged oppressed worlds to act with courage, to demand respect, and to seek equality. On a Dominion-controlled colony, a young engineer whispered to her friends, "The humans are not trying to fight us. They are showing us a way to be free, without destruction." Across the system, similar whispers spread. Citizens who had been silent for decades began small acts of defiance, refusing unjust orders, questioning Dominion teachings, and sharing information with neighbors. The humans had sparked a quiet revolution, all without a single shot fired. Admiral Thalic's frustration grew. "We control the fleet. We control the planets. Why are they not broken? Why are the people listening to them?" One of his officers spoke quietly, almost in fear. "Sir, they are teaching our people courage. That is stronger than our weapons. They are changing hearts without fighting." Thalic ground his teeth. "Impossible. It cannot be." But the evidence was clear. Humans were unshakable, clever, and morally strong. Dominion officers could see the truth. Courage and unity could rival power. And the humans had all three. Elena and her crew continued their careful, deliberate campaign. They did not attack. They did not demand. They only showed what humans could do when they acted with intelligence, integrity, and bravery. "Captain," Jalen said, "our influence is growing. More worlds are quietly resisting Dominion control. They look to us as a symbol of courage, not violence." Elena smiled. "That is the point. Humans are strongest when we inspire, when we lead by example, when we face danger with courage and morality. That is why they cannot defeat us with force alone." In the Dominion fleet, tension grew. Ships were ready for combat, yet every maneuver to force the humans to submit failed. Every attack was countered with clever strategy, not aggression. Every intimidation tactic met calm defiance. Dominion officers began to question their own methods, and some even began to admire the humans' resolve. On one planet, a Dominion governor whispered to his aide, "We have underestimated them. They are not like anything we have faced. They do not fear. They do not bow. And yet, they do not attack. They are teaching our people what courage means." Back on the human fleet, Elena received a secure communication from a local group of leaders from oppressed worlds. "We have seen your actions," they said. "You do not conquer. You do not destroy. You inspire. We wish to join you. Show us how to stand with courage." Elena replied, "We are humans. We cannot take sides nor impose our will. But we can guide, support, and show that courage, intelligence, and morality are stronger than fear. Stand together, and you will be free in ways the Dominion cannot deny." The Dominion Council grew increasingly concerned. Some argued for war, for total destruction of the human fleet. Others argued for diplomacy, acknowledging the humans' influence was spreading and could destabilize the Dominion from within. Admiral Thalic could not ignore the truth. "They are not just surviving. They are changing the galaxy, and we cannot break them." The humans had one final step to take. They sent a fleet-wide message across Dominion space, speaking directly to leaders and oppressed worlds alike. "We do not conquer. We do not destroy. We show courage. We act with intelligence. We lead with morality. You can act with courage too. Fear is not your master. Stand together, and equality and respect will follow." Across the Dominion-controlled systems, the message spread. Citizens whispered to one another. Workers hesitated to obey cruel orders. Soldiers hesitated to enforce harsh rules. Even Dominion commanders felt the message. Courage, intelligence, and morality had begun to ripple through the galaxy like a tide. Thalic realized the humans had accomplished something incredible. Without firing a shot, without destroying a world, humans had shown that power alone did not control the galaxy. Intelligence, courage, and unity could rival any weapon. He clenched his hands. They have changed everything, and I cannot stop them." Elena observed the Dominion's unease from her command deck. "They do not yet understand us," she said to her crew. "But they will. The galaxy is beginning to see that fear is not the only way. Courage, intelligence, and morality guide humans, and that is our gift and our strength." the Dominion fleet finally made the decision to withdraw, at least temporarily. They could not risk further exposure to human influence. Their rigid systems could not withstand the quiet revolution humans had begun. For the first time, the Dominion felt the consequences of underestimating courage, unity, and intelligence. The humans remained in the star system long enough to ensure oppressed worlds had guidance and reassurance. They did not stay to occupy or control. They only showed the way, leaving lasting knowledge and hope behind. "Captain," Jalen said, "we have done it. We have survived their might, inspired hope, and shown them humans are not weak." Elena nodded. "Yes, Jalen, but this is only the beginning. Humans will continue to inspire. Courage, intelligence, and morality can change the galaxy. That is what we do. That is who we are." As the human fleet prepared to leave the Dominion system, Dominion officers watched in silence. They had been forced to acknowledge a truth long denied. Humans were not a species to fear or dismiss. They were bold, clever, and morally strong. They were unshakable, and they had the power to awaken courage and hope where there was once only fear. On the planets of the Dominion, citizens felt a new strength in their hearts. They had seen humans act without fear, without aggression, and without submission. They began to believe they could stand up for themselves. They began to hope. And hope, once awakened, could never be extinguished. Thalik watched the human fleet leave the system. His face was hard, but his mind was unsettled. He had learned an important lesson. Power alone does not rule the galaxy. Courage, unity, and intelligence can change even the mightiest empire. The humans' message echoed through Dominion space. "We do not conquer. We awaken. Respect and equality are not optional." And for the first time in Dominion history, the galaxy began to see humans not as small, primitive creatures, but as equals, fearless, clever, and morally strong. Elena looked out at the stars, her fleet moving steadily forward. Humans enter the galaxy not to dominate, but to show what is possible. Courage, intelligence, and morality are stronger than fear. Remember that. Always. And so, the humans left the Dominion system unbroken, unbowed, and unshaken, leaving behind a legacy of hope, courage, and defiance. Worlds long oppressed began to change, quietly but surely. The Dominion itself began to transform, forced to reconsider its values and its power. The galaxy had witnessed a new force: humans. Bold, clever, moral, and unshakable. And the universe would never be the same again. Ending beat. Of Part 4, humans complete their mission without destruction, demonstrating that courage, intelligence, and morality can challenge overwhelming power. The Dominion is forced to respect humans, oppressed worlds begin to awaken, and a new chapter of the galaxy begins, one inspired by the unshakable spirit of humanity.